Hey guys, this is your host Nitin Binhani, and a very warm welcome to my startup podcast channel Jazair Audio, where we share real stories with real learnings.
The startup world often glorifies massive funding rounds, painting a picture of inevitable success for those flush with huge cash. In this podcast, we will cover the story of a bootstrapped founder who triumphed over a VC-backed competitor, thereby serving a powerful reminder that funding isn't everything. Rather, focus is more valuable than funding, particularly for the early-stage startups. A bootstrapped founder found out that his competitor had just raised $100 million and launched the exact same product. This is a gut-wrenching moment that can make even the most resilient entrepreneurs question their path. However, in this case, what the bootstrapped founder didn't know was that he was about to win the game, not by focusing on everything, but instead by doing less. The well-funded competitor was drowning in resources, trying to build 100 features for every customer segment, everything for everyone. The bootstrapped founder made a counterintuitive move. He went smaller. He laser-focused on a single customer segment, a niche that the big competitor was too distracted to serve effectively. The trap of excessive funding. Big funding rounds create a dangerous illusion. When a startup raises massive capital, there's an implicit expectation to deploy that money aggressively, expanding teams, adding new features, targeting multiple customer segments, and aggressively acquiring users. On the surface, it seems like the logical path for dominance. However, this approach often leads to a common pitfall, losing focus, that too with a high cash burn. In this case, the heavily funded competitor did just that. They built 100 features, aiming to cater to every possible customer need. The bootstrapped founder, in contrast, developed only 10 features, but they were exactly what his niche customers needed. The result? While the heavily funded startup burned cash in an attempt to be everything to everyone, the smaller, more focused bootstrapped startup hit profitability by serving just one specific vertical. The end result? After burning through a staggering $180 million, the heavily funded startup eventually shut down. Meanwhile, the bootstrapped founder, after securing a reasonable seed round, was able to hit $50 million in annual recurring revenue and continues to scale quickly within their niche. This isn't an isolated case. Rather, the pattern has repeated itself across industries over the past 15 years. Robinhood didn't try to be Charles Schwab. Instead of catering to high-net-worth individuals, it democratized investing for everyday users. Figma didn't try to be Adobe. Rather than replicating an entire creative suite, it focused on a collaborative design tool for teams. Notion didn't try to be Microsoft. Instead of competing across all productivity apps, it created a powerful, flexible workspace for knowledge workers. Each of these companies found a slice of the market and owned it. They resisted the temptation to expand too broadly, too quickly, and instead built strong, defensible positions in their niches. Why does this happen so often? It's easy to assume that more money automatically equals more success, but that's rarely the case in startups. Here's why heavily funded startups often lose focus. Pressure to scale prematurely. Investors expect rapid growth, which pushes founders to aggressively expand even before they've nailed the product-market fit. Feature overload and complexity. More funding means more resources to build features. However, adding too many features often dilutes the core value proposition and makes the product difficult to use. Lack of resource constraints. Bootstrapped startups operate under tight constraints, forcing them to prioritize only what truly matters. In contrast, heavily funded startups often have the burden of deploying excess capital, leading to inefficient spending and unnecessary complexity. Too many customer segments, too soon. Instead of refining their offering for a single segment, well-funded startups attempt to serve multiple customer types simultaneously, making it difficult to create a strong, loyal user base. Leadership dilution. When a company scales too fast, decision-making gets fragmented. Founders often end up managing large teams instead of staying close to the product and customers. The challenges of staying focused. Of course, not every founder has the privilege of bootstrapping their way to success. Many startups need external funding to even get off the ground. However, even in such cases, the key lesson is that focus is your most valuable asset. Some founders, particularly those outside major startup hubs, struggle to raise pre-seed and seed funding. They might have the skills, the vision, and the grit, but lack the network or access to early capital. For such founders, the road is undoubtedly tougher, but not impossible. Here are some ways to navigate these hurdles. Find mentors and advisors. A strong mentor can open doors to investors and provide critical guidance on staying focused while scaling. Network relentlessly. Surround yourself with other founders who can introduce you to their investors and help you learn from their experiences. Build strategic partnerships. Collaborate with companies that complement your offering instead of competing on all fronts. Consider relocating. If feasible, moving to an entrepreneurial hub can provide better access to funding, talent, and opportunities. The key takeaways. The next time you see a competitor raise a massive funding round, don't panic. Instead, focus harder on serving your core customers. Here's what to remember. Startups rarely fail due to a lack of funding. They fail because they lose focus trying to be everything to everyone. Your biggest threat isn't your competitor's war chest. It's your ability to stay committed, remain laser-focused to your niche, and execute relentlessly. More money doesn't mean better execution. In many cases, it leads to distractions, inefficiencies, and premature scaling. Winning doesn't require being the biggest. It requires being the best at solving a specific problem for a well-defined group of customers. The startup world is filled with stories of companies that raised massive amounts of money only to shut down spectacularly. The ones that truly succeed aren't necessarily the ones with the biggest funding rounds. They're the ones that remain disciplined, focused, and deeply committed to serving their customers better than anyone else. The story of the bootstrapped founder's victory over a well-funded competitor underscores a crucial factor in the startup ecosystem: that focus is more valuable than funding. While capital is undoubtedly important, it's the ability to identify a niche segment, to serve it exceptionally well, and resist the allure of unsustainable expansion is what truly sets successful startups apart. Folks, that's it for today. Thanks for tuning in. Please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Join us next time as we continue exploring the dynamic world of startups and the valuable lessons from their journeys.